Those of you that have come to the Port Hawkesbury Shopping Centre over the past couple of years have probably noticed a new business called Cutting Edge Studio and Boutique. It's run by Ashley Taylor. She took over the business roughly 6 years ago. In 2018, the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce awarded Taylor and her cutting edge colleagues the Rising Star Award for New Business Excellence. However, just recently, Taylor, like many others that operate hair salons and barbershops across the province, were forced to close her business as a result of COVID-19 protocols. She wasn't prepared for the announcement that she got from the landlord of the Port Hawkesbury Shopping Centre, Salon Development, based in Montreal. But instead of simply simmering and letting it all stew within her, Taylor decided to go public with the remarks that she had received from Toulon Development, and it's developed into quite an interesting story for her and for her business. I spoke to Ashley Taylor earlier this week on the phone. Here's that conversation now. Speaking with Ashley Taylor, who is the owner-operator of Cutting Edge Studios at the Port Hawkesbury Shopping Centre. So the reason that we have you here, Ashley, is because you got a letter from the operators of the Port Hawkesbury Shopping Centre, Toulon Development, based in Montreal, just as you were getting ready to shut down your salon. So can you give me a sense of just the basic timeline here? Because I know the provincial government had given you not a lot of notice, 24 hours notice to say salons, barbershops and such had to be shut down. So can you take me back to that period and then what you felt like when you got that letter?
Yeah, so on Wednesday, we were all kind of doing our thing at the store and at the salon, trying to figure out our next move. We had done all of the suggestions that Health, I guess Nova Scotia or whatever it's called, had given us to be able to still be open. But we knew that Stephen McNeil was going to come on that afternoon and basically let us know that we weren't going to be able to be open anymore. We've heard that coming through the Association of Nova Scotia, that we were going to be mandated to close. We just weren't sure when. So in that Wednesday afternoon, he had given us a 24-hour period. We needed to be closed by midnight on Thursday. So we all decided as a staff that I would operate on Thursday. Everybody else would officially be laid off, unfortunately, and I would close up shop on Thursday. So me and Natalie worked on Thursday. Natalie worked until 5. I had stayed until 9, trying to fit everybody in, as obviously the phone was ringing off the hook with panic of people trying to get their hair cut because they had now realized that that wasn't going to be an opportunity anymore, and that I feel like they also thought, okay, it's going to be months before I can get my hair cut again. So I had worked till 9, closed up the shop, went home, decided that I was going to repaint the shop while all this was closed and use my time wisely. So I went back in on Monday morning to find the letter, and it says, "Dear tenant," and this is how it opens. "We have been notified that you closed your store with us at the Port Hawkesbury Shopping Centre on March 19th, 2020, which is a default under your lease. So not, hi, sorry you had to close, you were mandated from the government, hope you're all well, we have solutions for you," it's you defaulted on your lease. The next paragraph goes in to say that they are trying to be in with the times in accordance with the government's emphasis on focus on slowing down COVID-19, and that they have taken steps to increase cleaning and provide sanitized station in all major entrances and exits. So what I gathered from that was, okay, we put hand sanitizers there, you should still be open. And the third paragraph says, "We would like to remind you that even if you close your store, this does not relieve you from paying your rent or any other amounts payable under your lease. Our expenses continue to count on your usual collaboration in honor of your obligations. We eagerly look forward to resuming as normal and as normal with our lives as possible." So the third paragraph basically is reminding me to pay my rent, and they want me back to work as soon as possible. When I read that, first thing I did was kind of cry, because I know I defaulted on my lease, but I was mandated by the government to close. Second of all, I understand that they put hand sanitizer stations in the mall, which regardless of whether they did or not, I was still not allowed to open under the government's rules. And regarding to the third paragraph, they're assuming on March 19th that I am not going to pay my rent. I had no problems with paying my April's rent. I had all intentions of paying my April's rent. To be honest, I wasn't sure exactly what the next few months are going to bring or what's it going to mean as a small business, but I was definitely going to try to fulfill my obligation as best as I could.
So this must have been difficult for you, like you say. Not only did they essentially say, go back to work anyway, we're setting this up so you can do this, but they made an assumption with no grounds to make that assumption that you were going to default on your lease and that you were going to stop paying your rent. And I mean, you've suggested that this is a very emotional time for you and you had quite a reaction, but just the very idea that they'd say, we don't expect you to pay your rent since you've defaulted on your lease. I mean, how did that make you feel at that point?
It really kind of hurt my feelings because I've never not paid my rent, and I've always worked very hard to pay everything from building a salon from scratch. I mean, I can't expect them to waive my rent either. That was never an intention or an expectation of mine. I'm still new to business, and I feel like all small businesses right now are in uncharted territories. We have no idea what we can and cannot do. We just know that as these businesses remain closed, we all still have bills to pay, but yet we have no income. So, I mean, I felt very lucky that I was able to pay my April's rent, and that was my full intention from when I received that letter. And I was very kind of hurt that they were just making sure that I knew that I still had to pay my rent. And I feel like the letter was presumptuous in the sense that they didn't reach out to say, hey, you know what, we understand you're a small business. If you need anything, we gladly work with you. We understand that you are mandated to close. We're sorry that this has happened and this is the time that we're living in. If there's anything that we can do, feel free to reach out. It mentions nothing in there about if I have any questions or concerns to reach out.
So what happened from that point in terms of your discussions with the mall management and with the mall ownership, Toulon Development? Can you give me a sense of what happened from there?
Well, I didn't contact them right away. I contacted my lawyer first, and then I went to Facebook with a picture of my letter. And obviously their office is closed and they're working from home. So it was about, I would say, a week later before I got in contact with Perry, the lady who had written the letter. I expressed my concerns about the letter, which she said was standard, which, okay, that's fine. However, you're sending out a letter that is not very helpful to all of the standard small businesses that rent from you. So basically, I asked her, since the government had come out with the rent deferral program, I had read into it and I did qualify. So I did ask her if that was something that they would be willing to work with me on. And she had no interest in that whatsoever. She said the best that they could do for me was for me to pay half of my April's rent. And then from this point forward, they weren't discussing it because I was going to be back open in May. So I expressed my concerns again that unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be May that I'm open. I think it's going to be June or July before we are going to be open again. And I just need to make a plan. I mean, I don't need free rent per se. I just need to make a plan going forward. So with the government having the rent deferral program, I thought, okay, perfect. That will help me. That will help Toulon. This will bridge that gap of the uncertainty. They will get their money, and it will give me a little bit of extra time to pay for that.
I'm intrigued that they thought that you could be opened up again in May, and I note with some interest that this is communication coming from Toulon Development Headquarters in Montreal, which was recently identified by the Chief Medical Officer in Quebec as a hotbed for COVID-19 cases. Did it seem like they were showing a bit of ignorance of just how much this could spread here in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, she actually talked about her hair and how she was going to not have her hair done. I didn't want to be mean, but I thought, like, are you even paying attention to what is happening in the country?
So let me pick up on the idea that you posted your letter from Toulon Development to Facebook. I know it did get quite a bit of play. Can you tell me a little bit about the support you seem to have gotten from different corners of the province and even outside the province about what your situation has been and how Toulon has responded?
Yeah, once I posted it to Facebook, actually a lot of news media people were tagged in it, but also the Nova Scotia small business affiliation also saw my letter. So they reached out to me and actually offered me an opportunity to represent salons and spas and chair rentals and room renters in our industry to participate in a Zoom interview with Mr. Bernie Miller, the Minister of Business. So it was actually kind of good that I had posted that, because I actually got to express my concerns for our industry, what kind of hurdles we're going to have as a whole, and what the province is going to do to help us.
Now, as you mentioned, speaking to the Minister of Business, how did that conversation go, and how do you feel the response was from that level of the provincial government?
The conversation was very good. There was about 8 of us, ranging from boutique owners, used bookstore owners, bars, and restaurants in Halifax. There was a gentleman who owned a business. I'm not sure what business he had, but it was in Lunenburg County. So there was representatives for all over the province and of different businesses. And a lot of them expressed their concern with the rent-deferral program for the business. For businesses. A lot of them didn't think that was a great option, and a lot of people actually didn't qualify for it when it first came out. I do know that they had since changed some of their rules, but for me, that was probably the best thing that the government had released, and I was happy with that program. I thought that program was going to be a great benefit to me. I expressed to Bernie that I don't expect to get a free ride as a small business, but the government is going to get its money back if we borrow money from the government. The people that we rent from, they're going to get their money because we're going to pay the rent, or the government is going to guarantee the rent. But what about small business? There doesn't seem to be anything to help small business. Small business, I feel like, is the one that's taking the brunt of the cost of everything. So I feel like, and I told Bernie, the cost of not having the business open needs to be split 3 ways. It needs to be split with the government, it needs to be split with us, and it needs to be split with the people that we rent from. And it's not fair that small businesses are seeming to take on the full brunt of the cost.
Well, with that in mind, what does the future look like for you? I know there's still a lot of questions to be answered. We could be in this for weeks or even months in terms of social distancing protocols and businesses being closed, like the one that you operate now. What keeps you going and what pushes you forward as you head into this uncertain era?
For me, it's passion. I have passion for the industry, and I have passion for the business that I run. And I have passion for people who also run small businesses. I mean, we are a breed. We are a kind of person, and I think we have a lot of push when it comes to running a business. So I will do everything I can for my business. I think we're going to be okay. It may be that I have to get a small loan just to make sure I have enough cash flow for when we open, but I think we're going to be just fine. The problem is I don't know if I'm going to be just fine if I can't open until September or October. So if I kind of knew when I could open, I would have a better plan. So right now, the plan that I have may be changing daily depending on what things are being offered and what information the government is releasing. But as for Cutting Edge Studio and Boutique, I think it will be just fine. It's just a matter of learning and trying to figure out what programs are going to be best for us.
Well, I want to wrap this up, Ashley, as we look into this uncertain era by talking a bit about the support you've been getting from your customers and from local residents. And we saw that in the early goings when you posted this letter from Toulon Development on Facebook. What has that meant to you as you've been trying to figure out just how to keep your business rolling in this uncertain era?
I can't thank the people that read it and commented, and the people that support me enough. I mean, there's a lot of small businesses out there, and there's a lot of awesome people that run these small businesses, but the fact that people took the time to share and read my letter, reach out, was absolutely fantastic. I can't thank them enough. I mean, I went to a drive-through to get a coffee, and the lady's like, I can't really speak. She's like, but I'm just going to tell you that Port Hawkesbury is behind you. She's like, I am so sorry you received such a letter. She's like, Ashley, you open up back up. She's like, and you will be just fine. She's like, this town needs people like you. So the fact that I don't really know that lady and she would say that to me as I'm getting a coffee, I thought was just lovely. And I'm not the only small business that received this letter, and I'm not the only small business that's going to receive a letter like this. It's just we have to realize that the small business in our towns and in our communities are the backbone. We do need to support them because they are usually the ones that will support us in the end.
We've covered a lot of ground here in a short time, and I really appreciate you giving me some time here. Did you want to add anything else about all of this before we wrap up?
I would also just like to say, thank you so much to the girls that work for me. I know it's an uncertain time for them. I know it's an uncertain time for me, and I hate it to lay them off. But when this is all said and done, we're going to be back, we're going to be together, and we're going to be stronger than ever.
We're looking forward to that, and I know you folks are as well. Ashley, thank you so much for giving me some time here on Telile 24/7.